Patrick Mahomes versus TB12, who will be the best? I think I'm tired of talking about it already, but Dan Patrick and Edelman, what do you want to do?
Well, we can do that. Julian Edelman told the Dan Patrick Show. Dan asked him, what would it take for Patrick Mahomes to be the equal to Tom Brady? Now, here's what Justin Edelman said.
Julian,
him too. Never liked Julian Edelman.
One of those guys. K-State?
I hate him anyway. Here's Edelman on what Mahomes needs to do to beat Tom Brady.
What does Mahomes have to do to surpass Tom Brady, in your opinion?
He just got to do it for a long time. I mean, he's on pace. This is remarkable. If he goes out and does 3 in a row in a salary cap era, you can't say much. You know, I'm as big as a Tom Brady guy as there is. And what the only difference is the longevity. Tom had like 3 careers. He just so happened to only get two runs at those Super Bowl runs. Patrick's been doing that his whole career. But it'll be interesting for me to see the next chapter of Patrick Mahomes when some sort of adversity comes along. Some player, Travis retired. He's going to be playing way longer after Travis. Chris Jones, when he departures, he's going to be there by himself. Will he be able to retool and find guys to help him go out and win, which that's what Tom had to do, and it took him 10 years to do that to get to the next one. So, it's pretty crazy that if you really think about it, they've had a little bit of adversity with guys that may not be cornerstone players, but like the stuff that we went through to see Tom be able to compartmentalize. I mean, we had murders, we had back surgeries, we had gates, and he was still able to go out and win football games. So that's like the next step for me to see with Patrick Mahomes, this next part of his career when, he doesn't have the whole band together.
The gates were very important, of course. Deflategate, Bountygate. Not Bountygate, Spygate. There were a couple of Robert Kraft Gate.
Hey, they cheated.
There's plenty of cheating going on in New England. But,
and we don't even say anything about it. They cheated multiple times.
So he said it. Tom Brady had 3 careers.
They talking asterisks?
Tom Brady had 3 careers.
You call it what you want to. They cheated too.
Patrick Mahomes is in his first career right now. Do you think Patrick Mahomes has the staying power of Tom Brady? And even if he doesn't, can't you still compare those two guys compared to what this guy has done?
I'll let you guys go first.
I thought that Edelman actually gave a surprisingly unbiased and honest answer. He has to do it for longer. Mm-hmm. He's clearly on the path to be as good or better if he can continue to win. And again, like he said, to be able to restock, because they're going to lose Kelsey soon. Yeah. And they spent a lot of money on their wide receivers, a lot of capital on them. We'll see if that works out. If they can continue to put a great defense on the other side of the ball for this kid, it's going to be there. Everything will be there for him to be considered the GOAT. Now, how many rings that takes, I don't know. It's obviously a much different NFL, the way that it's wired and geared towards passing. So I think that those numbers are a little bit skewed, but physically, he is a more talented human being. He is more gifted. But when it comes to being a leader and being able to have that staying power, we're only going to find out over time. But he's certainly on that pace.
Listen, when you talk about the GOATs, when you talk about the greatest of all time in any sport, what you're talking about is durability. What you're talking about is adversity. What you're talking about is durability and adversity. Look, at the end of the day, you've already passed all the quarterbacks that have ever played in the NFL, not named Joe Montana and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And then with this win, you pass Joe Montana, and you become number 2. And what you have to do is you got to somehow, as this carries out, and there's no more Andy Reid, or there's Andy Reid, there's no more, like he said, Chris Jones, whatever. How do you then, when this is going to disappear, how do you get back to the mountaintop? I'll give you an example. All the ones we call the GOATs, they had to redo it. Steph, we really didn't give Steph credit until Steph come back and beat Jason Tatum. All the other ones, it's, they hadn't seen this before. Well, KD joined the team. When they won a championship that they shouldn't have won, then it was like, is Steph on the same pace as LeBron? Same thing with LeBron. When LeBron did it out there with Miami, he had to go there with D-Wade, and that doesn't really count for much. When you come back from 3-1, when you go back to Cleveland, now let's start having the conversation about him and Jordan. Jordan did it in the NFL. Like Peyton Manning. Say what you want to about Peyton. Peyton Manning comes back, plays in Denver, loses the first Super Bowl, got carried to the second one, but it's the fact that he came back and put them in that moment twice. You have to have some adversity and stay at the top. So, yeah, I think he's right there. You can compare their careers if you want to. I think you can compare their greatness now. But in terms of him taking over, you got to somehow get back to that point. You got to go through the adversity, and we have to see you come out on the other side. Any greatness, it has a rocky point in there somewhere, and then you get back to it. That's just how I am.
Listen,
I think.
Mahomes has Travis Kelce. Besides that, he don't really have any other weapons, as you want to call it. They're all gone.
Yeah.
They're all gone. So
this is the adversity to you?
Exactly. I think with everything that's gone on with this team, what he has to work with, he probably has less to work with than other teams do when it comes to guys that are really stars. You heard Edelman say it. You got to do it. Tom did it with guys that aren't going to make the Hall of Fame.
Like Troy Brown.
Man,
exactly.
But here's the difference. He's still operating in the era of their prime. Like Andy Reid is still cooking with grease. Patrick Mahomes is still young. Like, what happens when Patrick Mahomes in 5, 6, 7 years loses his speed?
That's what.
Well,
I'm
actually, in 2 years.
Yeah.
What happens when he's no longer able to break these runs? What happens when the arm strength is no longer there? What happens when the refs fall out of favor with the Kansas City Chiefs? Because they damn sure fell out of favor with the Patriots. Mm-hmm. That's more so what they're talking about. He has gone through some things. He's been able to win 2 Super Bowls without Tyreek. We've seen that. But he's still young. The team's still young. You still got Chris Jones, who's the best defensive lineman in the game, not named Jalen Carter or interior guy. You still have 2 of the best offensive linemen in the league, and Tunney and Creed Humphrey. Mm-hmm. You still have Travis Kelce. So you still have a lot of your first Super Bowl. There's a lot of that still there. What happens when that's it? Travis is going to retire in a year or 2.
Yeah.
Now what are you? So
Braylon, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's what I worry about. What is he going to look like once the athleticism dissipates?
Yeah.
Because Tom Brady's game was never built around athleticism, which is why he was able to be dominant for so long at the top of the sport, damn near until he retired. So, and of course, Andy Reid being an older coach, he's not going to be there forever. How does it look when he has a new coach, under the helm? So, no, I totally agree with what Edelman said. Can you compare the two now? Sure you can, because nobody's been able to do what Patrick Mahomes has done in this modern era of the NFL. And like you said, he's only, 2 people, and he's about to beat Montana at this point. So can you compare him? Yes, he's still not better than Brady, but it's the longevity, like Edelman said. I totally agree.
It's just like LeBron and Jordan. Look, I'm not trying to stir the pot in the conversation, but they've been comparing LeBron to Jordan since he's had 2 chips.
Yeah.
Like, the conversation started then in Miami. And then so you can start a conversation when you see someone's trajectory. You see LeBron's trajectory, it's like, you can have a conversation whether you agree or not, whether it's respectful, and you can do it. I think it's similar with that. Like, you can have the conversation, but I'll never change on time until I see the longevity and it changed a little bit.
I mean, this comparison is just great, though, because those guys both won when they got there almost all the time. To your point, Maz, about this being the year of turmoil and changeover, I disagree. They spent their number 1 pick on the fastest guy ever. They got Marquise Hollywood Brown back. Mm-hmm. And their defense is the best defense that he's ever played with. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be the second half of his career, not this first half, where we truly can measure him against Tom Brady or not.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
How do we measure the beginning of their careers? Because the age-old adage, the age-old adage with Tom Brady was, well, it wasn't time the first 10 years. It became time the 10th year, 11th year. Mm-hmm. Then it was time, the reason why they were winning Super Bowls. It's been Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. It's been Patrick Mahomes since day one. So does he get extra credit in this who's the best?
That's a good point.
Because he started off cooking with grease, and he is the reason the Kansas City Chiefs have won Super Bowl. It was different. So does he get credit for it being him in the beginning?
If he wins next week, he's had the better first half of his career
than
Tom Brady.
We
all know that.
He's had the best sporting career ever.
There's a caveat, though, in the fact that the NFL football was very different 20, 25 years ago.
It was,
versus the way that it's engineered now. So when you look at those statistics, his throwing statistics, even his running statistics, it's hard to compare the two because the games were vastly different. In fact, Pat Mahomes probably wouldn't have been as successful if he comes into the league in the beginning of the 2000s because the league is so different. And because teams and franchises hadn't embraced players, and it was kind of Lamar Jackson that made everybody start to embrace this. They watched the Ravens completely change their whole team for this guy, and then everybody else has been following suit and chasing the Hendon Hookers of the league around. So it all comes down to the complete body of work because Tom Brady's body of work is that complete.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I'm glad you brought up Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Those guys are on the clock too.
Big time.
Lamar won't be running for forward in a year or two. Yeah. Josh Allen won't be able to sneak out for 30 yards like that in a year or two. You guys are on the clock.